Let's transition and let's go to a matchup being played last night at Lambeau Field as the Green Bay Packers beat the Kansas City Chiefs 27-19. For the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, he went 21 of 33. He threw for 210 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Pacheco had 18 carries for 118 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. For the Packers, Jordan Love continues his hot streak. He's been balling. He went 25 of 36. He threw for 267 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. So, my biggest takeaway from the Packers 27-19 win over the Kansas City Chiefs is the Green Bay Packers have found love in Green Bay. Jordan Love has been playing some great football over the last few weeks, and it's led to 3 straight wins for the Green Bay Packers over the Chargers, Lions, and Chiefs. You look at Jordan Love and what he's been able to do over the last 3 weeks. Jordan Love has 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's completing 69% of his passes. His passer rating right now is 116.9, and the Packers are 3-0 in those games. Jordan Love is playing some great football, and I have to give my head coach, Matt LaFleur, a ton of credit because I said after around October, because in October, that's when the Packers were struggling. Jordan Love was struggling overall. He was just struggling. And the Packers in October, they lost to the Raiders in week 5. They lost to the Broncos in week 7. They lost to the Vikings in week 8. And it was a bad month for the Packers. It was a bad month for Jordan Love as well. And in late game moments, Jordan Love did not deliver. And the Packers lost games to the Raiders and the Broncos, games they could have possibly won if Jordan Love executed in those moments. But I didn't blame Jordan Love solely for the Packers' struggles in October. I also blamed Matt LaFleur because I felt like Matt LaFleur, he didn't allow Jordan Love to throw the football. He had a very, very conservative approach. And I said at the time, Matt, you have to allow Jordan Love to throw the football so we can know moving forward if he's our franchise quarterback for future seasons to come. And I thought that at the time in October, Matt LaFleur, he kind of was treating Jordan Love like a child that you treat when they first started riding their bike. You know, when you first put your kid on the bike and you got the training wheels on the bike and you're kind of nervous and scared. That's how Jordan Love was being treated by Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur did not trust Jordan Love to throw the football down the field, and I just thought he kind of like had Jordan Love in a seatbelt per se. And over the last 3 weeks, he's taken that seatbelt off and he's taken the training wheels off and allowing Jordan Love to throw the football down the field. And boy, has it paid off. It has paid off for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. This offense is playing at an elite level. And I feel like last night's win over the Chiefs is the biggest win of the season for the Green Bay Packers so far. Before they beat the Chiefs, I thought their win over the Lions on Thanksgiving was the biggest win of the season. Until they beat Mahomes last night at Lambeau Field in primetime, that was the biggest win of the season so far for the Green Bay Packers. And I look at Jordan Love right now. He's playing some great football. You look at his numbers so far this year. 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 2,866 passing yards. He's completing 61% of his passes. He's playing some very, very good football. But it ain't just Jordan Love right now that's playing some great football. The entire Packers offense is growing right before our eyes. Like this Packers receiving room, they are young and they are talented. The way the Packers draft and develop in that system, it's one of the best systems in the NFL that a receiver or offensive player in general would want to go and play for. The Packers, they draft receivers and they develop them in that system. They don't usually draft receivers in the first round. They usually draft receivers in the later rounds in the NFL draft, but they always pay off. You look at this Packers receiving room right now. You got Christian Watson. You got Romeo Doubs. You got Jalen Reed. You got Wicks as well. And at tight end, you got Tucker Kraft. You got Luke Musgrave once he returns back to the field. So the Packers have weapons. They are young, and they are all growing together. And I feel like Jordan Love is a better fit for this Packers football team than Aaron Rodgers was last year. Because Aaron Rodgers last year, he was kind of like the old man on the block. Like he like you had a bunch of these younger guys and young players in this Packers offense, and you had Aaron Rodgers, the old guy that was still leading this football team. And I feel like they connect better with Jordan Love than they did with Aaron Rodgers because they are growing with Jordan Love. So it's almost as if they respect Jordan Love's leadership more than Aaron Rodgers. You respect Aaron Rodgers because of what he's accomplished and him being a Hall of Fame quarterback, but Jordan Love can relate to Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and Jalen Reed and Dontayvius Wicks. Aaron Rodgers couldn't relate to those young receivers. So I think the Packers are in a great place. I thought defensively they had a bend but not break approach. You saw the Chiefs move the football in between the 20s, but once they got into the red zone, the Packers played some great defense, and they held the Chiefs to field goals. The Chiefs had to kick 2 field goals in the red zone. So I thought defensively, Joe Barry did a tremendous job at being able to contain Patrick Mahomes once the Chiefs got into the red zone. Now, everyone's talking about that last possession for the Chiefs. The Packers did get away with a blatant pass interference that would have put the Chiefs in the red zone on their last possession. It was a blatant pass interference. And I'm a Packers fan. I love the Packers. I'm a diehard fan. But we got away with one. We got away with a blatant pass interference call. Now, I also believe, though, that the unnecessary roughness penalty on Owens was a terrible penalty. It was a terrible penalty. Mahomes had not gotten out of bounds yet. He was trying to get all the yards he could possibly get. And Owens just made a football play on Mahomes. I didn't like that penalty in that moment. I thought it was a bad time to call a penalty, and I don't even think it was a penalty. I thought they just made that call because it was Patrick Mahomes, and it seemed like the impact was more significant than it actually was, but it really wasn't that significant. And I thought it was a football play made by Owens, and it was a bad penalty. But on that last possession, that is a possession that the refs would want to forget about because there was some bad calls on both sides. Now, when I look at the Chiefs, right? Obviously, Patrick Mahomes this year, you look at his numbers statistically. Mahomes, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 3,127 passing yards. He's completing 68% of his passes. But the problem that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid has right now is no one in that receiver room they have that they can depend on. Like, there's no one. Like, I'm looking at the Chiefs receivers last night. Rashee Rice, 8 receptions, 64 receiving yards. MVS, 2 receptions, 25 receiving yards. Sky Moore, 1 reception, 5 receiving yards. And the Chiefs this year, they have struggled at being able to move the football down the field because they don't have no reliable receiver to rely on in this offense. And that's the biggest problem right now with the Chiefs. And I thought to myself as I was watching this game, I was thinking, for the first time, the Chiefs miss Tyreek Hill. The Kansas City Chiefs miss Tyreek Hill in this offense. And it's obvious. It's obvious right now. And it makes what Patrick Mahomes did last year, leading them to the Super Bowl and actually winning the Super Bowl, it makes it that much more impressive. Because this Chiefs offense, from a receiver standpoint, they don't have a true number 1 receiver. They don't. It's Travis Kelce or bust for this Chiefs offense right now, and they are struggling. They are struggling, and right now at 8-4, I'm not so sure that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be the number one seed in the AFC. So that means Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs will not host the AFC Championship game. And if they do make it to the AFC Championship game, they'll have to go on the road this time to get back to the Super Bowl. It's possible that the road to the Super Bowl will have to go through Baltimore or even Jacksonville in the AFC this year, depending on the results from the Bengals-Jags game tonight. But Chiefs are in some trouble. I thought last night defensively they didn't play very well. The Packers offense they were able to move the football. The Packers had 129 rushing yards. They had 382 total yards for the game. I thought last night was the Chiefs defense worst performance of the season. Worst performance of the season. And I believe the Packers, with their 27 points, that's the most points given up this year by this Chiefs defense. So they didn't really play very well. But about the Packers real quick, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to make the playoffs, folks. Seriously. This is the Packers' remaining schedule. Next week, they are in New York to play the Giants. That should be a win. Week 15, they are home against the Buccaneers. That's a toss-up, but I think the Packers will be favored in that matchup. Week 16, they are in Carolina against Bryce Young and the Panthers. The Panthers are the worst team in the NFL. That should be a win for the Packers. Week 17, this is on New Year's Eve, I believe. They are in Minnesota to play the Minnesota Vikings. That's a game that's a toss-up. It can go either way. Both teams are fighting for playoff position in the NFC. And then week 18, they are home against the Bears. That should be a win. So the Packers got 5 games left, and I believe that they could win out. They could win out and finish 11-6. But worst case scenario, they'll beat the Giants, Panthers, and Bears for sure. So that's 9-8. If they could beat the Bucs or the Vikings, the Packers will be a playoff team in the NFC. So watch out for the Packers as we close the season out.